Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope that you are having a wonderful day. If this is your first time viewing my channel, my name is Monica. Here on this channel I do DIYs, crafting, and occasionally revamping. We have 3 simple, cute DIYs that we will get done on today. So let's start with DIY number 1. DIY number 1, we'll be using a cutting board from Dollar Tree, and we will be using a flat black spray paint. This did take 2 coats of the spray paint because this was a colorful cutting board, so therefore it took 2 coats of the spray paint. As you can see here, we have the cutting board spray painted. We have a piece of the calendar. I think that I showed you the calendar that I normally use, and it's from Dollar Tree as well. And this is just one of the pages that I tore out. Now what you saw me doing previously was just pressing down on those lines on the actual cutting board. That actually helps me to cut this out to the size of the cutting board. Now once I have it cut out, now what you'll see me get ready to do is actually spray this with the Elmer's glue, in which the Elmer's glue is pretty good, and you can also use the Mod Podge if you choose to. I do like this Elmer's a little bit better. I guess it just depends on, to me, what type of material you're actually going to be working with. But that's what I'm doing here, just applying the Elmer's glue. And now what you see me doing here is just scoring around, because I want the actual edge of this cutting board to actually show. So I'm going to use my X-Acto knife and go around in that cut and just cut off those edges. Now you can leave it overlapping if you want to, but if you do decide to do this method right here with the X-Acto knife, I will advise you to make certain that your piece is completely dry from the glue, because if you don't, you will have tearing. Now I did not wait till the glue dry, and that was for video purposes. I wanted to go ahead and get the video up, but I will go over the areas that had the tears and areas that had some glue. I'll go over that with the black chalk paint, and you will see that done later. Now once I get finished cutting out the edges from the X-Acto knife, what you'll see me do then is do the touch-ups with the black chalk paint. Now once I have finished doing all the touch-ups with the actual black chalk paint, at the bottom of the cutting board piece, we'll then lay some florals and some greenery at the bottom, and then I will also put a checkboard bow at the top, and then that will complete our DIY number 1. Okay, here you also see me putting the Mod Podge onto this cutting board. I will advise before you actually put the actual floral and the greenery on to go ahead and Mod Podge it and let the Mod Podge dry. I'm just doing this afterwards because I had forgot to do it prior to, but that's my advice, is that you put the Mod Podge on before you actually put your floral and your greenery. Okay, DIY number 2, we're basically doing the same thing as DIY number 1, but I want to show you the difference just in case you're not able to find the cutting board with the handle on the end. You can also find these at Dollar Tree where they have the little cuffing part of the cutting board. Now we're going to use another calendar piece, and as you can see, these have lemons, and I did not want that yellow to be showing, so therefore I used this green acrylic paint from Dollar General, and I covered all the lemons on this particular calendar page. Now once I have all of those painted and they have dried, I would then do the same process that I did on the previous cutting board, is just take my finger and outline the edges of the cutting board so that I can see in detail where I want to actually cut this calendar piece down. Now once I have the calendar piece cut down to size, I would then do the same process with the Elmer's spray glue and spray this onto the actual cutting board. Now for some reason or another, for this particular cutting board, the actual spray did not lay as flat as I wanted to, but in the end it turned out okay. As I stated before on the other one, you can still also use the Mod Podge instead of the spray glue. I just try to sometimes experiment with the different glues when I'm doing with the paper to see which one is going to lay more flat without the bubbles. So that's what I'm doing here, is spraying this down now with the Elmer's glue and applying it to the cutting board. Now that I have it applying it to the actual cutting board, as you can see, the hole is currently on the cutting board is being covered up by the calendar. You can choose to leave it that way if you do not want to do the wrapping of the twine around that handle piece. You can leave it just like this and put your bow or put you some ribbon or whatever around the edges. However, I wanted to wrap twine around my actual handle piece. So what you will see me do in just a moment is flip this cutting board over and take my X-Acto knife, and make sure that you have a pretty good sharp X-Acto knife if you choose to do this method, and cut out that center portion of the cutting board at the top. And that's what I'm showing you here, and taking the X-Acto knife, going around and making certain that I cut that out. And also make certain that your project has completely dried, or else you will have tearing. However, like I stated before, this is I went ahead and did this for video purposes, is cut this out while it was wet, and I did know that I was going to be covering it up with twine, so I wasn't too worried about the actual tearing of the paper. But if you're not going to be covering it up with anything, just make certain that you make certain that the glue has completely dried. Now as you can see here, I'm getting twine to wrap around the actual handle. Now I'm going to apply the hot glue to the first piece that I'm going to lay on. Then I'm just going to go around. As you can see here, I've already wrapped it around the handle. Make certain when you're wrapping it around the handle that you're wrapping it tightly next to each other. Do not overlap them on each other, but make certain that they're wrapped tightly onto each other. Now, if you happen to run out of the twine, just make certain that you're putting those two pieces of twine together so it can look as though it's aligned perfectly. Now, moving to DIY number 3, we're going to make a planter out of these straw hats. At least that's what we call them, the straw hats, from Dollar Tree. You will need 2. I'm going to move the ribbon that's around these hats. Now, once I remove the ribbon from the hats, as I'm showing you here, initially I thought that I would be able to just follow those rim pieces to cut and it would be even. However, you will see in just a moment that the rims are not equal all the way around. So what you will have to do is basically just cut your rim a little bit wider than what you're actually wanting it to be on both of the actual hats. Now, once you have both of your rims cut down, you're then going to choose which one of the hats that you want to be your top hat. You would then cut out the top portion of that because you're going to need that to be your open piece to put down your florals or whatever you're choosing to put into this particular planter. Now, here you see that I have hat number 1 already cut out. Next, you will see that I also have the second hat cut out, and I will start my gluing process. Excuse me, I'll start to do my cutting of the top portion of the hat that I'm going to choose to actually be my top hat. I will cut that out. Then I will start the gluing process of the 2 hats together. Now, once I have my 2 hats together, I will then go around that rim and cut it down to the size in which I want the actual rim to be. So after I have the rim cut down to size, you will see I'll begin to put my little handles on, and those are just going to be done with nautical rope. Now, initially I wanted the handles to just stand up, but I changed my mind and put them as though they're laying down on the sides. And once I got them glued on to the hat, I then put some of the extra hat that I cut, the trimming of the hat that I cut off, I covered that up so it wouldn't be so that nautical rope just wouldn't be showing as though it's just glued there. I covered it up with the extra trimming piece from the hats, and then I placed the you can place your actual floral, greenery, or whatever that you want to actually put in. Now, because I did not want to have to use a lot of greenery or a lot of the styrofoam to put in here, I just stuffed this with some old paper or whatever, tissue paper, newspaper, whatever that you have. Just stuff it down in there if you're going to be putting greenery into this little basket. And Thank you all for viewing my channel. If you haven't done so, please remember to subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a video. And please also hit that thumbs up button to like this video. And remember, you can also follow me on Instagram at UKNEIK. Have a wonderful day.